So, yesterday I lied to my colleagues. I know, before you judge, I'm not proud of it. What happened is that I told them I couldn't find the saved file that I made. And the truth is that this file doesn't exist. Now, to be clear, I work with children with ADHD. That's my job, and I know it sounds like a weird combo, but I have ADHD myself. So this video is figuring out how an adult with ADHD can function in a work environment and where you have to sit in a meeting where you have to invent a stupid lie. And I think you're gonna probably recognize yourself in some moments I will describe to you. But first, I like to get a little bit personal. So every summer I organize a camp for the kids. Basically the kids from my job, the kids I work with, the kids with ADHD. It's just 4 days. It's quite simple, not that big of a deal. It starts in February, for me at least. The planning, the organizing, which if you have ADHD, you know that organizing is not our biggest trait or our biggest strength. The organizing is very hard for me. I put a lot of energy and a lot of work into that. Our budget is quite, let's say, modest. So the thing is, if I don't book early enough, I don't have a camp venue. And I like to go to the beach or to a nice forest, to go outside of my work environment. And the work environment is the school. So I like to do the camps outside of school. There are colleagues that do it inside of school. I myself don't like the school environment, so I go outside. That means that there's months of invisible work I have to do. I organize an amusement park, a beach day, transport, food, all of it. So that spreadsheet that is in front of me basically says, make it a magical, wonderful camp, but do it as cheap as possible. So I asked the parents in January already to say if their kid can go to the camp. So yes, I had 5 yeses. The camp was locked in. So now we are June. In July we go to camp. Everything planned. I was on time. I was proud of myself. It felt really like a win for me. And I think you have a version of this too. Not especially a camp, this is quite the story I relate to, but you have probably something in the background you're building for months, or just a project at work that nobody really sees what you're working on. It can be in your personal life too. It can be a savings goal that you're proud of, an application that you're proud of. It's the kind of work where if it pays off, it's kind of the work that nobody sees. Or nobody will ever know how much energy it costs you. Here's the first thing worth knowing. And this is the educator coming up in me now. Because ADHD brains, they don't run on importance. Our brains run on interest and reward. And the science calls it reward deficit. So basically that says that our dopamine system doesn't really react to later or should. Basically, it's saying that we don't make a distinction between what's important, what we should do, or what's planned in the future. So the months of unglamorous planning for an ADHD brain, that's not just work. That's very expensive work. We are paying on it for credit. And the payoff in the end of that project is kind of how we settle the bill. There's a huge reward. It's that reward we want. The bill matters in a minute. 2 days ago, I think you hear me already coming, I got a message from my manager. 3 of the 5 kids, they cancelled. The parents just pulled out like this. And I want to describe in all honesty what happened in my head. Because it wasn't like, okay, that's annoying, let's move on. No, it was a full breakdown. A full mental breakdown for me. 4 months, the venue calls, the price arrangements, the planning, all of it. It felt like in 1 second the whole building was burnt down. Reclassified as worthless. Not smaller, not, okay, there's still 2 kids that can go with me on a camp. No, dismissed. And you probably know that freeze. After you missed 1 week of going to the gym, I'll go Thursday or I go next week. That's not what's happening in our brain. What's happening in my brain is,
I didn't go for a week to the gym. Well, this is ruined. In the trash. never go to the gym anymore.
It's like our whole identity shifts in another direction suddenly, because there's one small thing that is breaking you down. It's like the project, you were 80% through it, and then one small little feedback moment of someone just makes you delete the project completely. This happened so many times in my life. And I noticed that there are two mechanisms at play here, and they are both kind of intertwined with each other. I think it's worth it to separate them. The first one is that ADHD emotion processing goes like binary. It's like a 1 or a 0. It's a yes or a no. It's kind of black and white. I feel this in this moment and I feel that in the other moment. It's like a switch you put on and off. It's like the reward lands completely or the effort retroactively never counted. There's no dial, there's no 80%, there's no 20%, there's no 30%. It's 0% or 100%. That's why the two kids going still on a camp was never processed by my brain. It was completely deleted. It just camp failed. Bam, that's it. That's the story. And the second mechanism in this is much more heavier. It's the rejection sensitivity. For a lot of us with ADHD, a cancellation doesn't just registers as logistics. It registers as rejection. Rejection of the work that I did for the past few months. And somewhere between the lines, it's not the work and it becomes you. You identify yourself with your work. I think we both know this emotion is out of proportion. And that knowledge doesn't do anything to help you. The knowledge of you knowing that the emotion is out of proportion doesn't help me to process that emotion in a different way. No. The emotion is still there. So that was my Tuesday. So the next day I had to write a child evolution report. Basically a document where you fill in how much progress the kid or the child made throughout the year. Quite important and completely unrelated to the camp. Different child, different task, different everything. And I sat there behind my desk, behind my computer, to write a report, and I just could not. I couldn't. I physically couldn't. And honestly, if it wasn't for my friends, I would just have called in sick. But the next day, the meeting happened with my colleagues. All behavior professionals, just a little reminder, and someone asked me about the report. We were going over the report together, and of course there was no report. I didn't make it. Then suddenly my stupid ass brain fabricated a lie in real time. I can't find that file over here, but I'm sure I made it. Where did I save that file? Let me look. And I just dipped out of the conversation completely. Now, I think you will probably recognize yourself in this story. Maybe it's not about the camp, maybe it's not about the save file you can't find. Maybe you didn't even lie about it. Maybe you didn't read that email you really needed to read and you just avoid that one email because you know there will be consequences to it. Maybe the letter you just can't open because you know what's inside. You know which message is inside. You just don't want to be confronted with that message. The comment you make, yeah, it's almost done, I'm working on it, with a straight face while you actually didn't do anything yet. But then I ask myself the question, why didn't I write the report that has nothing to do with the camp? I think there are two reasons. And this is where it genuinely gets interesting. The first one is motivation. Motivation doesn't get stored in two separate rooms for me. It gets stored in the same tank and it files them by feeling. The report I had to make and the camp news is kind of in the same tank. Invisible effort, delayed payoff, and that tank just had caught a big fire. In behavioral terms, this is called learned helplessness. One punished effort suppressing every other effort that feels the same. The brain's logic is brutally simple. We just watched you 4 months of working intensely to come to the realization that it's all for nothing. That's kind of the idea behind it. Your brain literally learns that it's not worth doing that work. So why would we fund it again with the same energy you put in? And this has really nothing to do with laziness. Because I know I'm gonna comment, but you're just lazy, right? No, fuck you. That's not the point. It's a burnt hand looking at the stove. Like, why the fuck I did that? Why the fuck did I work my ass off for 4 months to get nothing in return? This is not fair, right? Do you think it's fair? No. It's just logical data for my brain. When the wall of awful is so huge that even admitting that the task exists is like the same feeling like you put your hand right on the stove. So you buy time. You try to talk yourself out of it. But there's a price to pay. Every time you delay that task you really needed to do, you take a small loan. Remember I said that this bill matters? Here's the thing about the loan you take. It charges interest on your life. Because that report is still not done. And that wall of awful just became much more huge. You put your own bricks on that wall. You are blocking yourself. And I know this is really a pattern if you have ADHD. It comes up so much times. And I hate it. I fucking hate it, but I can't help it. I keep doing it. I keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. What I then did is I took responsibility for my actions. I tried to do the only thing that can shrink that wall. I went back to my colleagues and I just told them the truth. And you know what happened? Nothing. No explosion. They weren't angry. There was no disappointment even. And that monster that I made it in my head, or that big wall I made it in my head, was working overtime. It was doing much more than it needed to do. Because it didn't protect me, no, it destroyed me. And this part, I genuinely want that you take it with you, that you learn something from it. I want you to give that advice because I have a lived experience about that over and over again. And I still fall in the same kind of traps, don't get me wrong. I'm not an expert, I just deal with it every day. Whatever your buried thing is, whatever mail you didn't read, whatever message you didn't respond, doesn't matter what. The math is almost the same for every kind of situation you're in. You are currently choosing your own dread. You are feeding that big monster in your own head. That's what ADHD brains do. We become so afraid of other people's expectations because we fail again and again and again to meet those expectations. And that's what becomes our baseline thoughts, like, oh, you failed that task, you did it again. We make our own monsters. And I think the theory behind this is quite beautiful and very simple, because shame needs secrecy to compound. Think about it. Shame is a secret. It's kind of that little secret that you're hiding in the closet. That monster that grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Now that's where the shame starts, in the secrecy. And the moment when you speak something out loud, that secrecy just vanishes. It can be maybe 2 seconds of feeling uncomfortable. That doesn't compare with the cost of days, weeks, maybe even months of that shame you build up. So please do me a favor, because it will help your life so much, and it genuinely helps me. Just speak out your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. It will be less awkward than making up a lie. I think deep down inside they know that you didn't do that. It's just you don't want to. And that's what they think. If you are just honest with yourself and to other people, this will clear the sky for you. Oh, and the report, this I did the next morning in like 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I want to end this video with one question. Do you ever in your life invent sometimes little lies to prevent that people see what you've done wrong or what you failed, or what you missed. I think there's a lot of us that try to cope with dealing with that in life, and I would really like it if we could share, because I hope I'm not the only one that would feel genuinely bad. So it would me do a pleasure if you would share that story. The YouTube algorithm told me that maybe you like this video over here or this one.